Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back to today's edition of The Fishing Teacher, and much appreciated you guys checking today's video out and supporting the channel and subscribing to the channel. Always very grateful for that. Guys, today I'm going to show you what, in my opinion, what is the best lure that you can possibly throw if you just want to catch the biggest fish of your life, or just big fish in general. Bait I'm going to show you guys here. It's one you're not going to get many bites on, but when you do get a bite on it, it's going to be about this big when you get a bite on it. So we're going to go over and just give you guys some tips and advice on how to fish it and what type of water to look for in today's video. Also, guys, quick reminder, got the new February sale on my Solar Bat Series RB2 and RB3 series sunglasses. If you buy a pair in the month of February, you can get them at 30% off, and I'll put the Solar Bat link in the description if you guys are wanting to order a pair for fishing season. I think you guys will really like these things. Okay guys, here it is. We've talked about this briefly in some of my other channels here, but it's the 10-inch Megabass Magdraft swim bait here. This is a honking piece of plastic right here. The thing weighs probably 6 ounces. Got a really big giant hook on it here. And it's the exact same profile as the 6-inch, the famous 6-inch Magdraft, but it's just 10 inches long. It's just a huge bait. It's a huge piece of plastic. You know, comes through the water, you got that head moving like that, big wagging tail, puts off a lot of vibration, a lot of water displacement. And guys, it resembles a large gizzard shad, which is prevalent this time of year. It's like, if you guys fish many of the lakes like in the mid part of the country, you'll probably notice if you have some really cold water, that you're gonna get a gizzard shad die off right now. And a lot of those big gizzard shad that die are about the same size as this big Magdraft. They're 8 or 10 inches long. So this is the key for catching big ones out there. The whole theory about big lures for big bass, there's a lot of truth to that. So here's some tips on fishing this thing, what you want to do with it. And also guys, I'll put my Tackle Warehouse link in the description. I'll link the 10-inch Magdraft in there if you guys want to try one of them. But you gotta have a set of conditions for this thing to work. And if you have a body of water and you have a day like I'm gonna describe here, this is going to be your best odds to catch one. Number one, you have to have a lake that has a decent amount of quality fish in it. It didn't have to be like a big fish lake like Lake Fork or Clear Lake in California. It can be any lake, like here in Table Rock, Missouri. If you guys fish any of the Tennessee lakes, Lake Norman, Lake Lanier, any lake that's got a decent population of 4-pound or bigger fish in it, this thing is going to work. If you fish the body of waters, like if you guys live on the Ohio River, obviously it's not going to work very good. Or if you're in a small fish lake that is known for small fish, probably not going to be that effective. So lake is number one, pretty important. The next thing is having the right water clarity. In order for this thing to work good, you need to have a water clarity of like between say 2.5 to 5 feet visibility, which a lot of lakes have that. Pretty common water clarity. Ideally, if you say, Randy, what is the perfect water clarity to throw this in? I would say probably about that 4-foot range. 3.5 to 4 feet is my favorite on there. Next thing you have to do is you have to throw it at the right time of year with the right weather conditions. The right time of year to throw this thing in is in the pre-spawn, spawn, and post-spawn, the early post-spawn. So I start throwing it when that water temperature starts getting about 55 to 57 degrees, say like in mid to late March. And then I'll throw it all the way up until like the middle of May when the water temperature, until it starts getting like above 75. So that window of like the late pre-spawn, the spawn, and the early post-spawn is going to be your best times to fish it. Next thing you have to have is you got to have the right weather conditions. In order for a fish to hit this thing, commit to it, you've got to have a low light, windy day. So the ideal day for it would be a day where you've got heavy overcast, or maybe it's raining and you've got like a 10 to 20 mile an hour wind, preferably out of the south or the west. You need some type of a stable or falling barometric pressure, low light conditions that make those fish really actively chase and feed. That's what you got to have next. And then you have to fish it on the right type of area. The places that you want to fish these things are close to deep water, because the fish, in order for the fish to hit this, they're not going to come sideways on this bait very much. A lot of the bigger fish you're going to catch on this, you're pulling them out of that little bit deeper water. So I like to fish it. I'll throw it up on the bank and say, I'm really trying to focus on getting that bait maybe, a foot to 3 feet under the water where it's over maybe 5 to 15, maybe even 20 foot of water, depending upon the clarity. So given that, I'm fishing it around a lot of bluff banks a lot of times, around the corners of some deeper boat docks, main lake and secondary points, if I have some standing or submerged timber, any places like that that are good areas for those big fish to live in. Now, if you have some type of a target to throw this past, say for example, you're fishing down a bluff bank and you've got like a nice lay down tree that drops off into deeper water. Sometimes like those lay down trees, the ends of them, they'll be out in over 10, 15 feet of water. And that would be a perfect scenario to slow roll this thing right by the end of that deeper tree, or maybe off the end of a deeper boat dock, or, you know, something like that. If you've got something that the fish can hide behind, they're a lot more able to come out and nail it when it goes by. But if you're fishing it in open water, like over just a bare point or something like that, that's when it's really critical to have those super low light, windy conditions, so they'll make a mistake. But another thing, guys, is you have to throw this on heavy equipment. You need some type of like an 8 foot heavy action or extra heavy action bait cast rod. I'll link a couple of the rods I would suggest in the description of this video too. 25 pound test Seaguar Invisex line is what I fish it with. And the main thing, guys, is when you're, just cast it out and just slow reel it. You just want to reel it just fast enough to where the tail is waggling like that. If you reel it too fast, it's going to blow out to the side, but just reel it slow enough to keep that tail wagging. And usually what I'll do is if I want to keep it shallower, I'll keep my rod tip high. If I want to drop it down a little bit, I'll lower my rod tip. And also when they bite it, you're not going to get many bites on it, so you're like a live nerve ending all the time, ready to set the hook. But try to hesitate. It's like when you feel a fish load up on it, try to like let them eat it a little bit before you set the hook, because there is so much plastic to get in their mouth there. Main thing about this, guys, is if you want to catch a big one on it, you've got to just commit to it. It's not a bait that you can go out and throw it for 15 or 20 minutes and then put it down and expect to catch one. If you're going to catch a good one on this, the guys that catch them on this, they start out with it first thing in the morning and they don't put it down till the end of the day. And they may get, on a good day on this thing, you may get 2 to 3 bites on a good day. But those 2 to 3 bites are all going to be almost guaranteed over 5 pounds. 5 pounds and bigger is going to be your average fish on it. To be honest with you guys, I have fished this thing for about probably 5 years now, and I have caught like 5 fish on it in 5 years. And I've had a lot of followers on the thing, but actually fish that have hit it, probably 5 fish, but every one of those fish were over 5 pounds that I did catch on it. So it's just something different, man. If you just want to do something different than just normal bass fishing, pick you up a couple of these 10-inch mag drafts. That Tackle Warehouse link I'll put in the description, and just see what you think about it. It's sort of fun. It's addicting to do it, because what happens is this thing looks so good in the water. When you see one of those big ones chasing it or following it, it makes you want to keep throwing the thing. And then when you do finally get one of those big ones to actually hammer it and eat it, you're going to be hooked on it. So anyway, I hope it helps out. We'll talk later.